Right, year 4. We can see here in front of us something that's called an emotions graph. And it's for chapter 9. And I know that some of us have seen emotion graphs before in guided reading and also in your RE learning. So we're going to be thinking about Farmer Hoggett for this emotion graph and his point of view of the events that happen in chapter 9. And we can see that at the top here we've got a really smiley face. So these are emotions that are, you know, the highest emotions that you can get. And then down the bottom we've got a -10, which is, you know, really sad emotions, the saddest that you can get. So what we're going to do is we're going to think about the points in the chapter. But my first point is going to be from chapter 8, from right at the end of chapter 8, where Farmer Hoggett finds Babe with the dead ewe. And you can see that I've thought about the emotion here of the character, and I'm going to give you some reasons why in a moment that I've put it sort of, it's probably about a -8 here on the scale if we're to add in all the numbers. So he finds Babe with the dead ewe, and Dick King-Smith has wrote that he spoke in a cold voice. Now the use of the word cold tells me that that's quite negative, it's got negative intent, because Farmer Hoggett doesn't talk very much, but he normally talks in a kind, warm voice. Then, at the start of chapter 9, he tells Babe to go back to the farm, and then he takes him to the stables. And again, this is quite a negative point in chapter 9, and we know that because, again, Dick King-Smith uses the words cold voice, and he also shows us that this part of the chapter is negative by using the word dark interior for the stable. We know that when something's dark, it's quite sad and gloomy and unhappy. So he's used colour to show us that this is negative. And also there's a black shiny tube that he's got in his hand, and we know that that is the gun that he's going to use to destroy Babe. And then the chapter takes a turn on the positive. So the next key event that we come to is where Mrs. Hoggett gets the police call telling her about the sheep worrying dogs that are around in the area. And then she calls out and speaks to Farmer Hoggett and asks him whether he wants his gun so he can go and protect the sheep. And Dick King-Smith has been really clever here. He's used weather, which is called a pathetic fallacy, to show us that Farmer Hoggett walks from the dark interior of the stable, and the phrase that he uses is walked into the sunlight. So we're going from dark to light. So that's showing us that we're moving from a negative to a positive. And he's also changed his voice to a warm and kind voice. So, final point in the chapter, and you can see I've put this about a +8, because this is where Farmer Hoggett realises that Babe isn't evil and unkind. He hasn't killed Ma, the ewe. He's actually saved the flock, and he spots that he has got black and brown hair on his mouth and around his snout. And then he comes to realise that actually Babe's the hero. He has saved everybody, and there's a slow grin. So I've got all my points. It's a bit like plotting a graph in maths, and then all I have to do is I have to join them together. And this shows us really clearly that the end of chapter 8 and the start of chapter 9 starts off with very negative intent, and then as we go through the chapter, the intent turns to positive and ends on quite a positive note. So hopefully that's helped you, because you're going to need to use that to do your own emotion graph for Babe. So I'm not going to model that one for you, but the next emotion graph you're going to do, I'd like you to try on your own.